Childish Gambino. Donald Glover to some, Daddy to most. There's not much I can say about him that hasn't been already said. Actor, comedian, show writer, sex symbol, and musician. This man's creativity knows no bound. If you're like me, you know Big Daddy Donald through his music. With classics like Awaken My Love and Because the Internet, Donald easily stands out in a crowd full of gutter trash. And now, he once again reaches new heights, giving us his final album under the Childish Gambino moniker, Bandostone&thenewworld. Now, obviously, after listening to the album not once, but twice, I have some thoughts I'd like to share with you all. So, enough jerking around, let's get into it.
No! I said...
So while I mentioned that Bandostone is Gambino's final project, it's also going to be accompanied by a film with the exact same name. The album runs at exactly 1 hour's length and consists of 17 songs, some of the most diverse pieces of music you'll ever hear. In fact, let's address this first point right here, right now. Bandostone sounds like an accumulation of everything Gambino has done in his musical career, wrapped perfectly in a bow consistent of top-notch production. Regardless of how I feel about any of the songs on here, there's no denying that the production on this album is incredible. The best, not just in his career eyes, but of music as a whole. Every track on here, hit or miss, is sonically pushed to an utmost quality. Even with tracks I'm not too fond of, such as Hearts Were Meant to Fly or In the Night, I was in awe with how crisp, layered, and overall amazing everything on here sounded. And even if this album is meant to accompany the film, on its own, it's incredibly solid and somewhat cohesive. In fact, I'm curious if watching the film will change how I feel about this project. With that out of the way, let's dive into some of the individual tracks and explore my thoughts pertaining to each. Right off the gate, the track Hearts Were Meant to Fly seems to take us on this cloudy, mystic ride before diving headfirst into this jungle, electronic, dance frenzy mess. Almost as if Bino was taking notes out of Kanye's Yeezus, the track feels like we're in some type of mind of a machine. Gambino's voice is altered and distorted heavily, with ad-libs being beyond the point of recognition. Even the beat drop, which is undoubtedly hard, don't get me wrong, sounds like industrial house music on crack. Bino isn't just scaring the hoes, he's scaring the niggas too. Whatever it is, I'm personally not a fan, and thankfully, Lithonia instantly changes the direction this album was heading to. Lithonia is easily one of the best songs Gambino has ever put out, and I barely listen to any iterations of rock other than maybe indie. Yeah, I know. But I'm not too versed with my knowledge on the rock sounds. The guitars on this track and bass are blended so well, it feels almost grunge-like. Yet the chord progression is much more thoughtful, mellow, and dare I say, bittersweet. I've heard people describe this track as 2000s emo, and again, I'm not too familiar with that style of music, so honestly, I wouldn't have a clue. Survive is the next track that resurfaces Bino's love for all works of synths. In fact, the synth work on this track is stellar. Even with the frantic drum kicks, grainy synths, and groove-like bass, this track feels like it was ripped right out of Ada Vista and slapped onto this album. It screams magic, and it's so fun hearing how altered the vocal performances on this album are. The synth bells are also just so pretty to listen to. They just sparkle in your ears, and of course, the brass towards the end gave the track a really Afro-surrealistic, jazzy feel. And while Bando definitely has this chaotic aspect to it, I really have to hammer in the thought that the production on here is phenomenal. While this album submerges itself in many genres and sounds, I don't think it has an identity crisis. It isn't trying to find who it is or what it wants to be, because this album already knows exactly what it is, and that's why it's so enjoyable to listen to. Steps Beach is a track that has a lovely, catchy, and funky feel to it. I honestly hear Thundercat written all over this. The guitar plucks are full, fun, and happy. The vocal harmonization is lovely, soothing, and surreal. It reads so many things, yet overall, it's a really nice and simple track to listen to. Then we enter Talk My Shit, which completely abandons the direction this album was heading towards again. From the get-go, Gambino embraces his southern roots, giving us this trap track, which is sort of funny to hear him rap over now that I think about it. Don't be mistaken, the song is nowhere near terrible, but it's completely left field when discussing the things Gambino has musically embraced now until this point. The synth pads are mystical, but sound as if they're sort of wailing. The way in which the keys are arranged gives it a sound as if the melodic aspect of the song itself is trying to find resolution. Flo Milli is one of my favorite artists, and I love how well she sounds over a quirky beat like this. And of course, Amare's baby voice is such a vibe, and off topic, but Fountain Baby was so fucking good. The girls really murdered this track so effortlessly, and faint voices towards the end of the track remind me something similar to Bino's official debut album, Camp. The next track, Got To Be, is another cool one. Here, Gambino blends this Afrocentric rhythm with an 80s-like melody. Now, one of my issues with this project is the feel that Gambino can sometimes come across as doing a little bit too much, especially with the more grandiose tracks. Yet, it isn't too much to kill any of my enjoyment of any of these songs. It's just something I want to point out. And as lovely as the beginning of Got To Be is, it quickly gets feverish and techno. I can't make out whatever the hell he's saying, but the synth snippets are always welcomed. Not too much a fan of the robot nightmares being slammed into my ears, but again, I appreciate the innovative aspect. Real Love, on the other hand, is hands down one of my favorite tracks off of here. Without the brassy bass line included, this would sound like something you would hear fucking Jaden Smith make with his recent musical outputs. And of course, if you didn't know, I am a huge fan of Jaden Smith's newer works, especially CTV3. It's a little dirty secret, but it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Don't kill me. This bubblegum poppy track is so sweet sounding and a joy to listen to. It's cute, fun, snappy, and surprisingly fast paced. Something you'd find in a cheesy teen beach movie during Disney's prime. The drums and bass being the only thing setting it apart as a product of its time. After this, we have In the Night, which sounds like something you'd hear in your typical clubs in the UK. It's like this house Afrobeat consistent of deep kicks and an unpredictable bass line with percussion that's snappy, bouncy, and fun. The production never stays stagnant, and this track constantly takes certain sounds, quickly substituting it with other sound effects and instrumentation. Not one of my favorite tracks, but it's alright. Yoshinoya is another southern influence track. I think I said that right? I don't know. With a 21 Savage feel to it. However, this quickly shifts as the track does a complete 180, sounding like something you would hear like a New York underground beat from the fucking 80s. While the chants in the background remind me something you'd actually hear from Kanye, maybe The Life of Pablo. I don't know, something about the voices. You can really tell how heavily inspired Gambino is by Kanye. A lot of people in the rap community are. Either way, it's a favorite track and I really enjoy it as well. Skipping over a few things as I begin to close up this video, this album really was an exceptional way to close out Gambino and all that he's done in his entire career. You can tell he really took his time with this project. In fact, I feel as if this album was what Out of Vista should have been. The performances on here were stellar, the atmosphere was second to none, and his versatility through each and every track easily puts him in a league of his own. And the fact that we're getting a movie with this project is simply unheard of. It's amazing hearing all the ideas Gambino has tried to execute through his career finally come to life. I haven't even gone through half of the tracks I wanted to go through, which should show you just how much he's bringing to the table with this one. Still, as mentioned before, there were quite a few songs that didn't resonate with me, especially towards the last stretch of the album. I feel as if some ideas prior were starting to become a bit recycled. While I personally don't think it's his best, I wouldn't disagree with others who may not agree with my take. In terms of quality, Bandostone is unrivaled. Overall, I'm feeling a solid 7 out of 10. My favorite tracks are Lithonia, Survive, Talk My Shit, Real Love, Yoshinoya, No Excuses, Cruisin', and Advocate. And for fuck's sake, there was reggae and country on here as well. What can't Bino do? So yeah guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. You know your boy's back, just pumping out videos like that. I don't know what I'm going to do next, so stay tuned, but just know I love y'all and I got to work on this album that I'm dropping soon. So I will catch y'all in the next one.